And we have always been led to believe if you're in the SEC championship discussion outside the SEC is drawing a very big attention at this, saying this is a huge talking point that Greg Sankey, quote unquote, cannot bully the rest of college football into forcing both SEC teams in, and that Alabama, if they lose, may not be deserving of being in there, especially if BYU wins.
Who is the
where are you right now on the lock or not lock for Alabama?
I mean, I believe, like, when we started this whole 12 team, I mean, we were told last year the same thing, that if you play in Atlanta, you're not going to be punished for that. But the way this thing is played out, if Alabama loses this game, and especially if BYU wins, it's going to be really tricky, especially when you look at the numbers right now. Like, I think I saw if Alabama's to lose this game, their playoff hopes drop to 29%.
See, I don't know how accurate those numbers are.
I take out the is that All-State?
I don't either.
Is that the All-State
I don't know.
team?
I've seen a couple of different ones.
Give me the betting line, because somebody told me that moved a lot when Alabama clinched. Can you give me Alabama to make the college football playoff?
Think about the best summer nights of your life. How many of those were in a great T-shirt? Visit nextround.store to get the perfect T-shirt for the next perfect Southern night. Nextround.store. The memories are waiting.
Have you been injured in an 18-wheeler accident, company truck accident, a car accident, or work-related accident? Call Alabama's largest personal injury firm. Alexander TNR trial attorneys will fight for every dollar you deserve, and it won't cost you a dime. Trust me. What do you say, man?
Call me, Alabama.
Call 659-777-7777 or go to shenara.com.
No representation made that the legal services provided are better than legal services provided by other attorneys.
Oh, a big night. College football rankings coming up tonight at 6 o'clock. And our man, Brock Heward from the Rocky Mountains, joins us after a disappointing 21-13 loss to the unbeatable Cherry Creek. I'm going to guess the Marauders.
No. What are they? I don't even know what they are. They're the Bruins. They're the Bruins.
The Bruins. I see them.
Yep, very talented. 11, I think we counted up 11 D1 seniors that we played against.
That's like IMG.
So that's a pretty good crew, and that's not just like that's K-State tackle, K-State receiver, Wake Forest end, unbelievable BYU tight end, 4-star nose tackle, UW, Oregon linebacker. Like they were really talented, but we had them on the ropes, had the lead and going into the fourth quarter, had a big screen pass that we had been sitting on, Lance. This was the most frustrating of it all. We had been sitting on this play and coach called it in our own, it's like 3rd and 4, our own 10. And I was like, oh, this is pretty ballsy right here. Like this could be really good or this could not work out well. And it was like a boot, a tendency breaker. Titus throws it over the guys, unlike Mariota the other night. He throws it over 3 guys. Our back catches it at the line. There is nobody in front of them. It's a 65-yard play down to their 10 to start the fourth quarter. And the old penalty flag came out for men downfield, even though the ball was caught at the line of scrimmage. And that would have put us up. We go in to score. If we go up 20-7, it might be lights out. It's 16-7, who knows? But it would have given us immense momentum. They weren't throwing it very well. And unfortunately, got called back. We punt, they score, and we drove it all the way down. We had the final play of the game from the 5-yard line. We drove it 75 yards in 4 minutes with 8 seconds to go. And unfortunately, another tough sack fumble on a ball that was going forward with an arm going forward. They called a fumble and ended the game. So a couple tough calls that will sit with me for a while, unfortunately, and that's the way it goes.
Yeah, learning moments for this young Valor roster. But the good news is Titus Heward will be back for his junior year. They will have Coach Heward on the sidelines. I'm going to assume Mike Stanford, the head coach, has not gotten any of these job offers. They filled up quickly, so You guys will be fine. And you covered the, I forgot what it was, 17.5 or whatever against Cherry Creek. So congratulations on that. Speaking of ballsy, I do want to ask you this before you get into the college football rankings and how this is going to go. I know Alabama fans are somewhat, a lot more comfortable now, but somewhat, some are still a little nervous with the loss to Georgia. We'll get to that. But Alabama, 4th and 2 from the 6-yard line, 3 minutes and 50 seconds remaining. And Kalen DeBoer, you've seen him do this a million times. Now, the only thing I said was different was at one particular point this year, Ty was playing at a high level. Ty not playing as well as he once was in that stadium against that defense. If that thing gets batted down, they go down, kick the field goal, your season's over. That's just like a double blow for Kalen DeBoer with this fan base. But it worked out, and it typically does work out for Kalen DeBoer. Going back to that moment, and I know you were home on your couch by then, would you have kicked the 3 or would you have gone for it?
Yeah, I think I go for it. Yep, I think I go for it. And I think it's certainly, if I'm Kalen DeBoer, I mean, that's the way you coach. That's the conviction you have. And it's what he's done, as you said, this year, last year, what I got to watch, where I was aghast in an Apple Cup with the same thing, everything on the line. And that was inside their own 30-yard line at that point, not down there where you're still going to back Auburn up, at the 2 or 3, wherever it was, and they'd still have to drive the length of the field. So, no, that one did not surprise me at all. It empowers your group. If anything, if you don't do that, to me, that sends up more of a smoke signal that I don't believe in you guys, and everything that I'm talking and preaching, I'm not walking. So to me, it backed up the conviction with which they call the game, the conviction with which they play the game, the conviction with which he and Ryan Grubb have a relationship to be on the same page, and obviously gets into the title game and just listening to your guys' conversation and your show, Alabama's got to be in. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
win or lose, unless they get boat raced. Okay, they get boat raced and they get embarrassed and they play terrible, then they got to own that. They turn it over a bunch and they lose by 3 or 4 scores to a Georgia team that doesn't score very well. I anticipate this being close. I anticipate it being 1 score in the 4th quarter. But if it doesn't, and they just, crap down their leg, then it's a different conversation. But they play the game that I think they're going to play. They win or lose by a score, they've got to be in the college football playoff.
When you were with Benetti for the last few years and you were, contractually, Fox has got an agreement with the Big Ten, but the Big Ten and the SEC are what they are. And if you win the regular season technically, and that's what Alabama did, they are the 1 seed in this game against Georgia, there is not a world we live in. I don't care about the Florida State loss. I don't care if they absorb loss number 3, and unless it goes to the scenario you say, if you get run off the field, lasting impression, that could become a problem. But if this is a tight game, there is not a chance in hell that you can leave Alabama out of this, nor should they. But what's going to be crazy, Brock, is the way it stacked last week, and the committee's going to have an opportunity to kind of have their mulligan here, where Alabama was behind Notre Dame. I think Alabama, we all were in agreement, we've talked about it the last couple of days, is going to jump in front of Notre Dame because they can use that key point on Alabama won the regular season in the SEC. That means something.
Yes, 100%. 100%. And it's funny you bring that up, Lance, and I try to be as open book as I can possibly be doing this with you, and I love doing this with you every week. I can legitimately say there was never a time in my years at Fox that it was ever hey now, just when you get a chance, just try to pump up the Big Ten or say, never, not one talking point, never. Now rewind back to the start of my career at ESPN, where I had a lot of naivete. To be honest with you, when I started in media, my co-host Mike Salk likes to say, bro, you were 100 naive and 0 cynicism, 0, just not what I grew up with. And I've learned over 20 years in media, both of those things have kind of come probably a little bit much more cynical now, seeing it and hearing things and experiencing things and being, washed by things and spun by things, tried to be over my years. I do remember early in my career, as I look back now, and this was early, with Kellen Moore and Boise State. Remember, they were really good. And I'd be going on College Football Live, and I'd be like, I don't get it. And I'd write articles, and I did have an executive you understand, what's your love affair with Boise State? And again, 0 cynicism, 100% naivete. I'm like, they're really good. Yeah, they went to Georgia and won. They
They
went to Virginia Tech and
were
won.
really good. They would be
were
in
really
this
good.
12-team playoff every year with Chris Peterson. Every year.
Yes. Now, this was at a time with, what, 4 teams or 2 teams? And the
Two
computers
teams
and the
into
PCS?
4, and they never got there. They would have
Correct.
gotten there once with 4, which is pretty
Yeah.
amazing when you think about it. But speaking of getting there now, I wanted to ask you about scheduling. Now that you've had a taste of coaching, and who knows, maybe this is a career direction for you. If you are one of these head coaches, like Sarkisian said it, like if we wouldn't have played Ohio State on the road, if we would have played, pick a North Texas, a Texas San Antonio, they're 10-2 with that brand. They are 100% in this college football playoff. But because they chose to play these games as fans that we love against big names out of conference, they have been punished with that. Alabama, if they ultimately didn't get in or don't get in, it will be because of the loss to Florida State. If they would have scheduled Troy, or pick your Sun Belt team, they would be in easily. So moving forward, how would you schedule if you are going to not be rewarded but necessarily punished for losing one of these games?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And I know every Monday you guys have Clad on during the season. And I'm sure he said this to you guys for a decade, and his belief on scheduling and the need for a commissioner, the need for a superpower to just say, nope, we're doing this, sorry, we're going to play the SEC versus Big Ten. We're just going to find a way to do that and have a crossover where the top teams from the year before play and all the way down. And, I think people have been clamoring for that for a long time. I guess if you ask me very specifically about my life experience this year coaching, and then as a player, Lance, I would land on I don't want to script and schedule for success. So there is a divide in coaching, and especially when I was playing back in the day, the whole West Coast system was you script practice for success, right? So I want my quarterback to feel great. I want to go up against the scouts. I want to script plays that I know are advantageous with that zone coverage versus this look. I don't want the ball to hit the ground on a Friday. Like, you script for success, for confidence, for mojo, for rhythm, for all of it. And then the other school is we have no script. Jim Harbaugh, like, we go good on good. Coach Sanford that I was with this year on a Monday, we still went live scrimmage all year, like good on good. And there is no script, and the D coordinator's got to call it, and I got to call it. We're going to move the ball. And, it's like we callous and we toughen each other. And to me, the scheduling is kind of like that. Do I want to schedule for success and just schedule a really weak non-conference? You see it in basketball, men's and women's. Do I want to schedule this really weak non-conference so I'm 11-1 going into conference play, but I'm not calloused and I'm not ready? And I do wonder what that game meant, honestly. And there was a lot of hardship, right, Lance? Really difficult for Arch Manning. He got thrown under the bus. He got run over. He's a bust. He's a horrible. His mechanics, da-da-da-da. But how much did that callous him and harden him for the rest of the way? And get him playing his best ball. So by the end of the year, I can beat A&M. And I've been in tough environments and tough places and dealt with tough stuff. So push comes to shove, I think in the long run, scheduling to be calloused is better than scheduling for success.
Hey, this last month, the contradictions from this committee have been infuriating for a lot of people, especially when it comes to head-to-head. And obviously, they're not really putting a lot of value on head-to-head right now. Notre Dame in the latest polls in the college football rankings, 9th. The team that beat them, one of the 2 teams, Miami at 12. Now Miami goes out. They dominate Pitt in Heinz Field. Now you've got that light game on top of the head-to-head. I mean, ultimately, if one of those 2 gets in, it's got to be Miami, right? I don't think Miami's got any shot, but if you're on that committee, head-to-head has got to mean something, right?
It does. I would also say, and this is just where it is so difficult, where it's not black and white. And when you get human beings and committees and some of these little gray areas, and what can we really plant our flag that, absolutely, well, we can't really do that because then we're not doing it there. And as you said, this is a little bit of a contradiction. Challenge for Miami, remind me their 2 losses, Lance?
Miami, they lost to SMU and they lost to Louisville, 2 8-4 teams.
Yeah.
I mean, not bad losses, but.
I mean, not bad and not terrible teams and not sub 500. And Notre Dame lost to Miami and
Texas A&M. Controversial, 41-40 in South Bend.
Yep. Yep. So 2-11-1 and a 10-2, and right, like that's
And personally, I think Notre Dame's a better team. I do. Eye test tells me right now that was C.J. Carr's first start. Eye test tells me right now I think Miami is one of the 12 best teams in college football, but I think Notre Dame is a little bit better. But I would have a hard time with similar or with the exact same record, not putting Miami in and putting Notre Dame in front of them.
Nope, I would too. And then all of a sudden you're going to sit in that committee room and go, well, if we do this here, well, what about this situation? And what about that one? And what about really what are the most important as we stack these variables? And hey, is it losses? Is it strength of schedule? Is it the eye test? Is it how they're playing right now? Is like, it just makes, this full of human error, and why 12 teams is probably not going to work, and why eventually we're going to get to 16 teams. And then eventually when we get to 16, Lance, there's probably going to be a 17th or an 18th that's like, well, hold on a second. We beat them head to head. It's just some of the chaos that this creates. And frankly, whether they say it or not, they want it. And whether they believe it or not, it's actually good for the exposure, for the fandom, for the passion. And again, that's where some of my cynicism has grown, that if you had this conversation with me 20 years ago, well, you wouldn't have, because I was so bad at media, because I had zero cynicism and it was 100% naive. It'd have been a different feeling than it is now.
Yeah, keep doing more shows with me, and that'll help you out there. It is amazing, though, that Alabama really, a play breaks here, there. Cam Coleman doesn't fumble. Who knows? Maybe they get in, they go for two. And then Alabama's season is over at 9-3, but now they have an opportunity to go in this game against Georgia. They win that game, they're going to get a bye. Yep. They're going to get a bye as the SEC regular champion and the SEC, winning the championship game outright on the field against Georgia. I think it shows you, like, Indiana and Ohio State might ultimately be head and shoulders above everybody. We haven't seen that yet. But it shows you how narrow the margin has been this year with the 12-team playoffs. So, I was like, I can't believe we're going to 12. I don't mind going to 16. I don't know if it solves any problems. You referenced Joel Klatt. He says it really doesn't. But I think we're going to leave some good teams out this year. And I think it shows you how close Alabama was to being out and how close they are right now to being one of the top 4 seeds.
Yeah, I think it's just another, right? Isn't it just another data point of this whole season? It is, again, another Coach Sanfordism that he talks about a lot, that every one of these games is data, and then that data is how you're going to respond to it. Isn't this, and won't these rankings tonight, and even after championship weekend, won't it just kind of put a final stamp on the data point of the 25 season, which is wild. This year is wild. It's crazy. It is parity. It is a thin margin between so many of these games, so many of these teams, so many of these debates and conversations. And it wasn't this way 10 years ago. It just wasn't, right? It was like 4 teams, and then maybe, the TCU or the Baylor got screwed, or maybe you got to 7 or 8 max. We didn't get to 12, 14, 16 in this situation that we're sitting in now. And that's what it is. And I don't see it changing. I don't think this is an aberration. I think this is where it's going, between the coaching changes, the resource differences, the NIL, the portal, the timing. Like, this isn't changing. Like, it's going to be like we used to have. Fernando Rodney was the closer of the Mariners, and we'd call it the Fernando Rodney experience.
Was that it right here?
Hat turned sideways, and you're like, well, good Lord, I don't know what's going to happen tonight. Like, but buckle up, get on the roller coaster, because it's going to be one heck of a ride and experience, and that's what college football has been this year.
Okay, so I wanted to get into the coaches before in the coaching carousel, what's been going on, some of these hires before we get into the NFL, unlocked here with Brock Huard. But I do want to ask you specifically about the game that we will see on Saturday, 4 o'clock Eastern kick, Alabama, Georgia. This is pretty amazing. Since 2010, this is the 8th time Alabama has been an underdog, 7 of those 8 times against the Georgia Bulldogs. Now, with that said, Kirby has 1 win against this team. They have lost 10 of 11 to Alabama. I don't know if it was a high school rival. I don't know if it was Oregon for you growing up. I don't think it was Wazoo. But was there a team that got in your head, or a program that you played for? And how real is this moving forward for Georgia, the Alabama problem that they have?
Yeah, that's a good question, Lance. I don't think there was, for me in college, that team. And I was there a little bit in Indy, where New England was that team. for those years that we played them. We played them in a AFC division. We played them in the AFC championship. That was always the Manning Brady, right? It was the Belichick, and Bill Polian and the fights and all of that. That would probably be the closest I had to this, to be honest with you, where it was like, man, this is going to be such an uphill slog and battle. And they know how to play us. And they just kind of had our number until they don't, right? Until you finally win that AFC championship game and get to a Super Bowl. That was a year after I was there, or 2 years after I was there. And you kind of change that narrative. So that would probably be the closest. Certainly was on the other side where we beat our crosstown Rogers High School 15 straight years. And many of those years they had more collective talent, but they just didn't believe they could do it. And I think that really plays in high school a little bit more than college, with all the different names and changes and staff changes and coordinator changes and player changes. It's hard to say that this carries through. Oh, yep, that thread line goes all the way through, and yep, this has been a problem. It is so, and I bet you if you went game by game, and you could probably do it, and Alabama fans could, you could look at so many of those games and point to that play, that moment, right? That decision, that fourth quarter stop, right? I mean, the margin is pretty darn thin, and I do anticipate it being thin on Saturday.
Yeah, well, I'm going to get your prediction real quick, but I mean, statistically, these teams are almost identical. I mean, Georgia, they score 32.2 points per game. Alabama, 33.2. Alabama gives up 16.5 on defense. Georgia gives up 16.6. They both have elite coaches in Kalen DeBoer and Kirby Smart. They both have quarterbacks that have been extremely hot at certain times this season where there wasn't a huge expectation for Gunnar Stockton and Ty Simpson. Again, I think Alabama has whatever between the ears, the mental edge there. But with all that said, Georgia is a 2.5-point favorite in their backyard in Atlanta, where, by the way, in SEC championship games, Alabama 4-0 all-time versus the Georgia Bulldogs. Who wins this one?
Alabama, I think, is going to win this one. And I said it 3 times now. I think it'll be really close. One of Coach's last piece of advice to Titus going into our semifinal game was, hey, I haven't said this to you once all week. Kind of shame on me, but you're going to have to use your legs for 3 big plays. You've got to, you will throw on time, we'll hit some stuff, and we did, and we're going to move the ball, but you're going to have to use your legs at least 3 times. And what's funny, Lance? He used them twice. Converted some third downs, extended plays, made some plays that he hadn't made all year. And then the sack fumble at the end probably had to be the play where he avoided it and ducked under it and scrambled and either threw or scrambled and scored. And that's what's going to happen, I think, Saturday. And both of them are capable. Ty and Gunnar can both run, right? They're not like elite athletes, but they both have that wild card. They're both tough as nails. And I think both of them know that's going to have to come into play. And if I get this right, and next Monday when we're chatting, you can cut this, that someone's going to use their legs in the fourth quarter to make the third or fourth play with their legs. That will be the overriding factor. And I think Ty's got a great chance to do that.
From Saturday to Sunday to Monday, dominoes just fell quickly in the SEC with these job openings and closings. And the one thing that we talked about, we were like, where is Penn State? And now it looks like Kalani Sitake is their target. I'm a big Sitake fan. I've even said it back, watching his BYU teams years ago when they weren't really good, they scratch and claw for 60 minutes. I mean, they're just tenacious. He's never coached east of the Rockies. I know people are going to make a big deal about that. They made a big deal about that when Kalen DeBoer took the Alabama job. Kalani Sitake to Penn State, what does that do for you? And how good is the BYU job if it opens up?
That's a hard one for me, Lance. I just don't see the fit. I just don't. I played against Kalani. He was at BYU as a fullback in the 90s there. I covered him probably a dozen times. This is one of those, to me, kind of situations where, man, this is your fit, right? This is who you are. You're LDS, Polynesian, which is the lifeblood of that program, both of those demographics in ways that give them and have given them since Lavelle Edwards, I think, an inherent advantage recruiting globally. And some of the finances and resources there are really good, like really deep. And I would think that this is a Penn State is unbelievably desperate. And if I'm Kalani Sitake and his family and his friends and his agent, like, Kalani, here's the deal. And maybe Penn State gets to 7 years and 80 million, and can, BYU get to 6 years and 65 million. Like, come on, man. Like, this is, to me, just such a fit. And if I'm Penn State, I have got a lot of apprehension. I mean, people had apprehension down where you're at because Kalen was from South Dakota and Fresno and Seattle. And, like, is he going to know the South? You could fit, like, down there. That's not a big leap. To go from Provo, Utah and your whole life there to the middle of Pennsylvania, where that demographic, and both from a Polynesian and an LDS, that's never been pumped there. Like, that's a different deal. You're talking recruiting the Northeast and all the private schools and having to make sure you get that area, and then to get into the Rust Belt. And, like, I don't know, man, that strikes me as outside of the realm of a lot of reason and common sense for Kalani, especially. Know where you are, know what you got, keep winning 10 games a year, and get yourself into these playoffs. And, it's a really, really good fit for him there in Provo.
We were on location in Auburn doing our show on Friday afternoon when news broke that Florida was like, hey, bad communication with Lane Kiffin. We're moving on. John Summerall is our target. They closed him down. I think a good majority of Auburn fans for a minute wanted Summerall, but I thought John Cohen did a great job of pivoting and going Alex Golish next from South Florida. South Florida, the 3 years before he was there, 4-29. He's coming off a 9-win season of the regular season. How much do you know about Golish? It seems like it's all offense with Golish, which I think Auburn fans will love. I thought he won the press conference yesterday, but how much do you know about this guy?
It's funny you say that it's all offense, because from afar, and he was an assistant in some places that I did and covered, he was never the coordinator nor the head coach. Because from afar, Lance, do you know what I feel with him, actually? I feel grit, like just toughness.
That's all he talked about. We're going to outwork everybody. You can outwork everybody in any arena of life, which is, it's a legitimate point. It's great advice.
And I heard Jim Morris say the same thing, Colorado State's presser yesterday, exact same thing. Like, we're going to win this day, and we stack these days, and we outwork. And it's a messaging that, that a lot of these veteran coaches and coaches use today. That's all talk. And as you said, it won a press conference. More importantly, his teams walk it physically. Kind of like Jim Morris' teams, frankly, did at UConn the last couple of years. It's just a hard job. The USF is a hard job with an off-campus stadium, and hard to get, that huge student populace excited about it. But there's just there's just kind of an edge and a grittiness. And while the background may be offensively, I guess the word I come to, Lance, sorry that it's kind of in a roundabout way, but the word I come to is disruptor. And I'm watching it in Seattle with Mike McDonald, and, all of John Schneider, the longtime GM there, and all the counsel to him was, hey, Mike Kafka, or this really wonder kid in this place, and this really bright offensive mind here. And he was like, I'm not doing that. The only way I'm going to disrupt this division, and with Shanahan and McVay, is not to get a lesser model of McVay or Shanahan. It's to try to get a disruptor on the other side to hit him in the mouth. And to me, that's what this hire at Auburn strikes me as. Like, that dude's just a disruptor, just a disruptive force. And after everything that Auburn has tried to do, I think bringing that kind of gritty and almost a Cignetti, right? Like, what is Cignetti? Cignetti's a disruptor. Like, says what he wants to say and doesn't really care about social norms, and is a little uncomfortable at times, and ruffles feathers, and doesn't, kiss babies and pat butts and shake hands and follow all the social norms. That's what I feel from this guy from afar.
Well, I think that's what they need. I mean, before Nick Saban got to Tuscaloosa, there was a lot of meddling. There were a lot of boosters that wanted fingerprints on the program. And once he got there, he's like, to hell with you. I'm doing it my way. Golish obviously doesn't have the legacy or the equity that Nick Saban had when he takes this job, but he still seems like one of those guys that I'm going to do it my way. Okay, so quickly to the NFL, a couple of questions here. Bad news for you. I saw Stephen A. Smith did his power rankings. I knew it was a problem when he had the Rams #1 last week. He has dropped the Rams from 1 to 5 after one of the most flukish games. I don't want to take anything away from the Panthers, but when you go a full quarter and you only run 3 plays for -3 yards, that's what they did in the third quarter. When you throw a pick in the end zone that's tipped, when you throw a pick six, when Bryce Young completes 2 big 4th downs, 4th and 2 and 4th and 3, that lead to 35-plus yard touchdowns, and you lose by 1 possession. Again, Carolina, a lot of credit there, but I don't know how the Rams fall from 1 to 5, and now he's got your Seahawks at number 1.
Oh, no. Does he really?
Yeah.
Shoot. I think he had him at 1 before the Rams game.
Yeah.
After one of their big
Oh,
wins.
he's on a roll,
That's
man. He's on a roll. Whoever
That's
he's
a
got at
curse.
1, it's you know.
That's not good.
But
That's
I'm
not
scared
good.
to death. I don't know where you are on this whole thing, but, you know, that was one of those games I just assumed as a 10.5-point, favorite going East Coast, where McVay's been pretty good. After a holiday, they might struggle a little bit, but they go right up 7-0. I was surprised they lost the game, especially when they took the lead again in the fourth quarter. Again, I don't really drop them, but I am scared to death on home field advantage. I'm not scared of the Bears at all. I know you've been looking at this.
Yep.
The Bears have overachieved in year 1 under Ben Johnson. Give him a lot of credit. Caleb's playing well right now. They're playing with confidence, but their 5 remaining games are difficult. I can easily see a 2 and 3. I think it comes down to the Seahawks and Rams for home field, and much bigger for the Rams. Seattle can go into SoFi and play in 70 degrees in front of not that crazy of a crowd, but going to Lumen and playing in late January. I mean, this is this stretch for people that are just marginal NFL fans. Getting home field and getting that 1 bye and that number 1 seed is massive.
Yeah, be monumental, I think, this year with just the structure of the NFC and once again, kind of like college football, the margin between the Rams, the Niners, the Seahawks, the Bears, the Lions, the Packers. You don't want to go to Green Bay, right? I'm not going to discount them here the rest of the way as well. And I think, don't they get the Bears twice? So they're going to be able to kind of stake their claim. Philly is kind of a mess. The South's kind of a mess. So, it's really, to me, kind of Green Bay, Chicago, and those aren't fun places to play, especially for West Coast teams. We get some rain and cold wind and nasty in the Northwest, but I was at a couple playoff games in Chicago in January, and it's death. Like, it's like that lake whatever effect. Like, Lance, I don't know if you've dealt with that in your life, but it's like it's pain.
I went to Chicago one time in December. I love that city, absolutely love it. I've said it. A lot of people say this, greatest city in the world. In the summer months, I will never go back in the winter because it is absolutely miserable. Can't go anywhere.
No. What do they call that when they on your skin, when they kind of wipe your skin away on women's like facials and stuff, abrasions? Like, that's what it is. It's just like, it's the most abrasive force. Like, I just don't even want to be here. And you see teams that kind of play that way. Green Bay, been up there for playoff games. It is miserable. That place is so haunted for so many teams to try to go in there and win. And Seattle can be windy and nasty. So to your point, like home field advantage, that 1 seed will be a really, really big deal. Seattle's playing awesome. Their defense is awesome. I just don't know if you can trust Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
The 49ers and Kyle Shanahan, like coach of the year. I don't care about Ben Johnson, and obviously Vrabel right now is the leader but what he's done with all of those injuries, and don't discount them because they still have kind of a championship fiber, and McCaffrey should be in MVP conversations as well. So yeah, it is going to be it's going to be incredible journey for the NFC West here over the next 5 weeks.
Well, and you look at a team that's not currently in the playoffs, but they are trending in the right direction. Dallas has won 3 consecutive games. I'm not as high on Dallas as everyone else. I do think their defense has improved, but just 2 weeks ago they were down 21-0 to the Eagles. They were down to the Chiefs in the second half at home. They win those games, and that's great. But I just don't put them right now in the same stratosphere of the Seahawks and the Rams. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. The Seahawks and Rams are they're 2 of the best organizations in football. I mean, we got to get to that point where we can say that comfortably with Green Bay and with Kansas City and with Baltimore and with Buffalo of just, hey man, we talked about this last week when I got owner and Kroenke and I got President Demoff and I got Snead at GM and I got McVay and I got that through line and that alignment for all these years. And in Seattle, you moved from Pete, but it was time, and that's kind of shown in Vegas. But you've got the Allen ownership, you got Chuck Arnold as president, you got John Schneider as GM, and now you got a McDonald that's filled in seamlessly for Pete. Like, they're totally aligned. And you think of Dallas feels like, and good for Shoddy, man. I love Shoddy. I don't know if you've ever crossed paths with him through the years, Lance, but that dude Brian's a great guy. And you feel that, like, in this opportunity he's waited for his whole life, been a coordinator, been all over the place. He's just loving it. And that adversity just brought out his best, losing a player, taking his life. Like, you can go one of two ways, and you can just feel his genuineness amidst chaos. I mean, Dallas is chaos. Pickens is crazy. CD's nuts. Jerry's crazy, right? I mean, it's just a soap opera. It's like Landman. The document, like it reminds me of Landman, the show I'm watching every week now, and it's great. And he's kind of Billy Bob Thornton, kind of just bringing everybody together with his genuine nature. It's cool. But no, do I buy him? And are they sustainable? Not in the same way that I think the Packers, the Rams, the Seahawks, some of the class of the NFC is this year.
I know there's a lot of Sunday night Paramount Plus Landman viewers that love the optics of mother-daughter combination. They absolutely drive me insane, though. Like, some of the storylines.
They're crazy. They're crazy.
The storylines are just so dumb. Like, I guess you can't just have Billy Bob all of the time. He is so freaking good. I would try to have more Billy Bob and less of those two. But, hey, whatever. I am a big fan as well, though. Hey, look, big fan of you. Sorry about the loss to Cherry Creek. Again, teaching moments. Any other offers for Titus?
No, and it's kind of weird. December now really shuts down high school wise recruiting. I think it's a dead period, actually. The coaches finally got of all of the chaos of the schedule with, the timing of the coaches, the portal, all of it. They just said, you know what, we're not doing high school recruiting. So we'll kind of crank it up. Basketball gets going. He had his first practice yesterday after playing Saturday. We met with the coach and just said, hey, might take a couple days for his body. He took a bit of a beating. Boys played great, emptied the tank. I hope there's no Cherry Creek fans hearing me cry over a couple calls. They were physical. They are dominant. They're going to probably win. I don't know. They're 6 and 7 years state title. So kudos to them, but we'll be battle tested for 26. You know that. Okay.
Well, I hope you guys go East Coast to Atlanta and lose this weekend, and the Rams take care of business in the desert against the Cardinals. We'll see what happens there. You're going to join us throughout, though. We'll be back on next week, right, on Unlock, regular time on Monday. We'll be talking about at that point. I mean, we'll know what's what. So more exciting stuff that we will get into, and we've got a ton of meat still left on the bone in the NFL. Always great stuff, my friend.
Thank you, Lance. Who decorated the studio? I need to know. It looks great. I love the seasonal
that would be
Christmas
Ryan Brown's wife, Jennifer, and his 2 daughters. So they did a great job with that over the holiday weekend, so we do appreciate that.
Love it.
And I like the backdrop there, all Seattle stuff. I see a little Jay Buhner snuck in there. I see some Steve Largent, some Don James.
Figured it out.
Yeah.
I figured it out. It took me all year. I've been all over the place for you. I don't know where you like me the best, but studio background right here. You got me.
See you, buddy.
See you, Lancer. You bet.